Good evening, welcome to my channel. It's time for another story from the Boyter archive. This one from around about 1981, possibly 1982. It says here, written when 11 and a half. And I think I sent it into a competition because it says on the top, entry number 1. So I don't know, maybe I sent several things into some competition. Anyway, my dad printed it out on his computer, or his word processor, so I was very excited. This is called The Crocodile's Revenge. And I should apologise in advance for any cultural insensitivity, but it was the 80s, and I was 11. Deep in the heart of the Amazonian jungle, Benjamin Blake, a white hunter, had come across a strange mound of earth beside the swift, dangerous waters of the Amazon River. Little did he know that this mound was the nest of a crocodile, and that the oval eggs on top were those of this reptile instead of some exotic bird. And the only use he could think of for those eggs were as targets for the bullets of his .22 caliber rifle used for smaller game. Carefully he laid them out on the bough of the tall tree beside him. Taking 5 steps back, he looked along the rifle and squeezed the trigger. The bullets screamed to their marks, and the smashed shells of the eggs fell to the ground. He slung his gun over his shoulder and smiled smugly, strutting out of the clearing into the underbrush. Now, at the sound of gunfire, the mother croc waddled surprisingly fast for so heavy a reptile to the clearing. Her small brain remembered the bullet noise, and she was outraged and unhappy when she saw the victim of such howling flies had been her babies. The only thing she knew about humans were that they carried guns and destroyed life, and her anger made her forget all sense and think only of revenge. And she would soon have it, maybe, for a little further upriver were humans. In a small dugout canoe sat Clark Simpson, Samantha Spencer, Otto Mokerazzi, and I put a pronunciation guide here in phonetics, and his brother Loloma. The 2 black guides had wooden paddles and were pushing the boat out into the current from the tiny pier of the village of Carozapetec or something. It looks Inca. Anyway. Carozapetec had a small hotel, an airstrip and a tiny hospital, and the teenagers and their father were quite enjoying their stay there. They were looking forward to their first trip on the Amazon. They began to move swiftly with the current, but not too fast, and the Indian brothers had their paddles in the water to slow them down. As they came into sight from around the first bend, the crocodile saw them, and recognizing them as humans, she slipped silently into the water. Meanwhile, Samantha had pointed out a ripple in the water that Otto told her was something she thought sounded like piranha fish. She did not know that these beautiful piranha fishes could rip a carcass to bones in a matter of minutes. And it didn't have to be dead meat either. Many an unwary bather had hobbled home with a leg or hand missing. Her attention was soon drawn to another ripple. It was more of a wake. "Crocodile," pronounced Loma, "but it is, how you say, acting strange." "It's coming straight for us," screamed Samantha. Suddenly the boat rocked as the nose of the crocodile butted against the wood. A second butt pushed the side of the boat over, and it overturned, spilling the horrified occupants into the water. Clark faintly saw Samantha and the 2 black guides swimming bravely through the current and towards the bank. He was dragged under, and Mr. Croc was coming for him, and he felt an urge to scream even though he was under water. Now the crocodile let go, and he thought that it was at last going to leave him alone, but it did not. Instead, those menacing jaws went for his throat. Thinking quickly, Clark pressed his thumbs into the crocodile's slitted eyes. All this had gone on in a matter of seconds, but Clark was losing his breath rapidly. On the bank, a distressed Samantha was screaming, "Can't you save him, Otto?" But Otto replied, sadly shaking his head, "No, I am afeard not. If the crocodile does not get him, the piranha will." The scene under the water was of the crocodile thrashing his tail about in an effort to get free of this terrible torture, Clark clinging tightly on to the reptile, continuing his treatment. Eventually, Croc broke loose and swam away into the murky water. Clark made for the bank, wondering if the other companions were safe. The friends greeted each other happily and began to walk into the village. But there was one participant in the recent exploits who was not feeling so good. She lay on the bank, nursing her wounds and waiting. waiting to lure an unsuspecting traveller to his doom. I thank you. So I think I'd been reading a lot of Willard Price books, like I think there was one called Crocodile Adventure, where I probably found out that crocodiles are reptiles and lay eggs, and that's probably where I read about that if you stick your thumbs in a crocodile's eyes, it will swim away. Good luck with that strategy if it happens to you. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. There may be something more horrific, even more horrific, next time I return to the Boyter archive. Goodbye.